I'm Stacy Tisdale, Senior Editor of Personal Finance for Black Enterprise with Enzo Villani. He's CEO of Equities.com, which provides insights and advice to investors on small companies and emerging industries. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Stacy. How are you?
Thank you. Good, thanks. When it comes to the cannabis sector, what are some of the things that you look at when it comes to evaluating companies and that investors should look at? They can't really bank. There's not a banking industry for cannabis companies. It's not federally legal. What are some of the things people should consider?
So I would start off with just learning about the actual sectors. There's about 12 to 15 sectors out there. I would learn about which sectors probably have the most or the safest type of investment opportunities for you. It depends on what your personal risk profile is, but if you're in this industry now, you're looking at, or you should be looking at companies that are probably not touching the plant yet. And some of those firms can still function, right, in this kind of hybrid world where we have laws, in some states where it's passed and there's different levels, there's different rules. But I'd spend the time to really understand are you interested in? What type of investment risk profile do you usually like to focus on as a customer? And then look at different opportunities where you think, if you want to invest in something that's touching the plant, then maybe you don't invest as much.
Can you elaborate on what you mean by companies that aren't touching the plant?
So there's a conversation, much smarter people than me here, that basically goes to the companies that don't touch the plant, like the LED lighting system, or a company that is, on the actual cannabis. They're running trucks, or they're handling the cash, but they're not handling the actual plant itself. They're fine. They should be fine as far as any kind of, hurdles around law. Okay. What happens is, and again, this is still gray area. So there's actually attorneys here and so on. But what I would do is that once you want to start to invest, look at what you want to invest in. Invest in the places where the states are legalized, right? Of course. And then also focus on which companies that if they're not touching the plant, meaning they don't handle it, that might be a good opportunity from a more lower risk opportunity. And then on the higher risk opportunity, because they aren't touching the plant, but what they're doing is biotech, or they're trying to solve they're trying to actually create a medicine out of this, right? Because it does have its properties. That is also a much bigger, that'll have a higher upside, but it's higher risk.
Talk about some of the sectors, the major sectors within cannabis that small investors like me could get involved in.
So you can look at, anything in the actual medical space that is dealing with as a replacement for the OxyContins of the world. Right, so you have all of these drugs that are basically the kind of opiate-based, right? And what they're trying to do is say, don't use the kind of opiate-based drugs, use the actual cannabinoid-based drugs. They're not addictive. They don't have, the kind of withdrawal, issues. You don't have people ODing on them. You can't OD on it. Those drugs are really, really effective for a lot of people. And you saw this with the weed Forestry Warriors Project. You've seen this with some of the things that the real advocates here are talking about, which is it helps people who have cancer. It helps people who are having seizures every day. Those biotech opportunities are real. You want to look at who has the best researchers and doctors or researchers who are on their board of advisors who are involved. So if a company, look at the management team. So you're usually betting on the management team. If the researcher is a doctor who's been studying and studied other similar types of drugs in the past and created drugs in the past, that's a good sign.
So biotech, what are a couple other sectors within cannabis that you think are?
Software. So we are focused on the kind of emerging growth sector. So I'm a fintech guy. We are in the fintech sector. We know that the banking sector is changing, that the financial technology sector is changing, Wall Street's changing. That's a big sector. Anything in software is also really, really a great opportunity. So there's one firm, actually Cannabis, which is here. They have a software product that helps to manage the entire like kind of corporate enterprise. Everything from how do you manage the actual inventory, the chain, to marketing and CRM. I mean, that's pretty interesting stuff, and that is something that is also not touching the plant. It's software, and from a risk profile, if they had to, if let's say this all just didn't work, which is not going to happen because there's a freight train coming down the road, that software company could easily pivot someplace else.
And if someone, a small investor, wants to buy stocks or invest, how do they actually do that?
You can go to your, so there's a bunch of basically different ways. One is through your kind of CFP, the person who sits down. They're from Wells Fargo. They're from Chase Manhattan Bank, from Chase Bank and so on and so forth. The other way, of course, is the Scottrades of the world and the E-Trades, and going online. Most of the people that use our site are self-directed and research-based type of people. I would always recommend, and being a person that worked at NASDAQ and I was at Lehman Brothers, I would always recommend you should have a good idea of where your investments are going.